Hey everybody, Norm over here, and a lot of folks have been asking what's going on with the Ask Norm segments that you guys were coming up with, and we've been going through a remodel over here. So the place has been torn apart. It's made it real difficult for us to do some of our stuff, but I promise we're going to get on with it. We're going to have more of a regular thing going with the Ask Norm because a lot of people have been inquiring, and we've got a special guest with us today. I've got my buddy James Stevenson, who we have dealt with James for I don't know how many years. I mean, if I told you, it probably wouldn't sound right because James still looks pretty young.
It's got to be 30 years.
Yeah, a long time.
When you're on Tampa and Van Owen,
Yeah,
the old
That's
school.
right, a long time.
It was around
And
86.
Yeah.
just to fill you in on James a little bit, James was with the Cult, Generation X, Chelsea, The Alarm, on and on. What else? Keep going.
I've been doing this thing called Holy Holy with Woody Woodmansey and Tony Visconti.
The
The
Bowies.
International Swingers.
The International Swings with Clem Burke. But the Holy Holy thing, it's Tony Visconti, if you know who that is. He produced like 12 Bowie albums, and Woody Woodmansey was the drummer in the Spiders from Mars, and Mick Ronson is one of my all-time guitar heroes, so I get to be him with the people that play on
That
the
worked
record.
out perfectly because
Yeah,
you're such a big Ronno
because
fan.
I'm a huge fan. He's the reason I picked up a guitar when I was a kid, so
Yeah.
it's been fantastic.
So you
yeah.
get to do a little tribute to Ronno every night. Huh?
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah. So we did like 6 weeks around the States last April. I hope we're coming back next year.
Fantastic.
And I've just been doing some shows with the Swingers with Clem Burke and Gary Twin, who, you know, Gary obviously. And
Gary.
yeah, we've got a new bass player in that, John Carlucci.
Yeah, he's great, that guy. Yeah, that's a great little band because they do songs from every era. They've got some Cult songs, they've got some Blondie songs,
Yeah.
they've got a couple of Pistol songs.
And
in
we've
there.
got our own album just
And-
come out with
and Gun Control
shameless
was
plug.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys recorded
You know,
that? You guys
we're
recorded that
kind
here,
of
right?
shameless
We
here,
did,
too.
we recorded some of it in my buddy Tommy Dietrich's studio in Encino, and then we did some of it at Dave Grohl's
At
place,
606, right?
Yeah.
which is
Awesome.
just the most amazing place. You know, it's got that Sound City board
Right.
that he made the
I know
film
Dave,
about,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's the most amazing place. And he has like 50 Trini Lopez, 60s Trini Lopez's in like black and colours you don't see.
Well, you can
So
never
just
have
lying
enough
around.
Trini Lopez guitars. You know what's really funny is that
He's got
years
more than
ago,
Trini.
yeah, you couldn't give those things away. All of a
Yeah.
sudden, a few guys start playing them, and look
Yeah.
what you got. You know, I mean, and it's
I
been
always
like
thought they were cool guitars.
Yeah.
you know.
they were.
Yeah.
They were. It's basically 335 with
Yeah.
6 on the side,
Yeah.
tuners. You know, not the F holes, but the cat's eye and all that.
Exactly.
It was always a cool guitar.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, Trini, kind of, a lot of people felt that maybe it was old-fashioned being
Right.
into Trini Lopez.
Jesus.
I like Trini very much,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think he's very cool. And if you hang around long enough, everything comes around. So
Absolutely.
all of a sudden, another great guitar gets recognized when it's been ignored for a long
Yeah.
time.
It needs the
Yeah.
full depth ones, the Trini Lopez Customs
Sure.
to catch on
Yeah.
next. You
Well,
know.
that's the other. The
Oh,
Barney
yeah.
Kessel's the next
And
guitar
the
that's
Barney
taken
Kessel.
off right now.
I've
It's
always
the new
thought they
Trini.
look. I
Love the
remember
Barney
when I was a
Kessels.
kid, I saw a picture of Steve Howe, and he was like playing a Kessel, and it was like, what is that? You
Yeah.
know?
It's the new
Right.
Trini Lopez right now. That's what
Right.
everybody
That's
seems to
going
be
to be
wanting.
next.
I had a buddy of mine named Bob Wirtz who played with Trini for many, many, many years. And, and it's funny because, as I say, things get ignored after a little while. It's like everything's hot in the beginning, they get ignored after a while, and then people go, you know what, that's pretty damn cool. And people start recognizing it
Yeah.
again and all that. So, Nick, we're going to hit a couple of these questions
Yeah.
because James can help us answer some of this stuff too.
If I can.
We've had some questions piling up. Obviously, thank you very much, everybody. I've got one. I've got to lead off with Norm from Tippers. It says it's about your new book, Confessions of a Vintage Guitar Dealer, which is a great read. If you haven't got it, it says, "Hey Norm, I've just received your new book and I need your help. Because I couldn't stop reading it, I didn't go to work, I've lost my job, my wife's left me. Please could you send me a 59 Les Paul by way of compensation?" Great book, thank you.
Well, I'm glad you like the book. And the 59, as soon as somebody donates one to me, I'm happy to send it your way. Unfortunately, I haven't been getting a lot of donations lately. I've been giving donations more than getting them. So, Tipper, thank you for your support and your love of the book.
We'll try.
Sorry you got fired. Shit happens. What can I say? So.
All right.
All right. A little more serious.
We got another one from Denver, from Whitehaven in England. So, seeing as we're semi-English on this episode. Denver
It's
Watson.
50-50 right now.
Yeah. Denver Watson says, Norm, you've probably been asked a million times, but what's the one that got away? Has there been a guitar that slipped through your fingers?
Well, there's been a number of them that got away, and probably the most memorable, and it's in my book, was George Harrison's Gretsch Country Gentleman, which he offered me, and I figured nobody'd believe me that I had George's guitar. I had never dealt with a big star really before, and here I am dealing with George Harrison. I figured nobody's going to believe me if I tell them I have George Harrison's guitar. They'll go, yeah, and you got Napoleon's suit too, or something stupid like that. So that's one that got away. What do you think, Mark? We sold a lot of cool stuff here.
There's been a lot of them, yeah. I'm trying to think. Most of the Blonde D'Angelico,
Yeah.
the New Yorker that you got that was immaculately preserved.
Yeah.
That gold top from earlier this year, that 58.
Uh-huh.
Couple
Brad
of-
Whitford got that
Brad
guy.
got that one.
What
How about
about,
you,
what
James?
about, well, what I was going to ask you, because I saw you buy at a show probably about 10 years ago, you bought an early 60s white 355 with black binding.
That
Did you
was
keep that?
so cool.
It was.
No, you know what?
I thought you would have kept that.
You know what happens with me? I decide I'm going to keep stuff,
Yeah.
and then I started looking in the mirror and going, at your age, what am I doing keeping all this stuff? I'm just going to drop dead with it all.
Well, yeah.
And then
that's-
Marlene and Mark and Nick and Jen and everybody else here and
Get your
myself, Jordan,
stuff.
they're going to have to sell it.
Yeah.
So I figured, you know, what the hell? And somebody started twisting my arm, and the next thing I know, the guitar was sold.
Yeah.
White with
I often
black
think of
lining.
not so much about ones that got away, but ones that I had that I kind of sold that I didn't want to, you know. Or
Well,
back
what
in
are
the
some
day.
that you've had?
Well,
that you-
when I was first in
I know there's a
Chelsea
few you-
in like 78, my main guitar was a 56 Junior because I don't know how, but even when I was a kid, the American guitars were just the best. They were, you know, the Fenders and Gibsons and Epiphones. They were just what everyone wanted.
That's what you wanted, yeah.
And I had this 56 Junior that I used for a couple of years, and I needed a new tape recorder, and I ended up swapping it, doing a straight trade for a Revox A77 tape recorder, which was worth about the same at the time, about £350 in the late 70s. And I think I still have the Revox in the attic. It's old technology now. I think it's worth about $15.
Yeah.
And I still look out for that Junior because I can remember the number, which
Oh,
was
really?
67711. So if anyone out there's got it, I'd like it back. There you go.
James's old junior, yeah.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what's-
a piece of history.
You know
man.
what's kind of funny? You guys across the pond there recognize the quality of the American guitars early on.
Yeah.
You recognize the quality of American blues when everybody had kind of forgot about it. And we were reintroduced to American blues
Fine
through you
bricks,
guys
yeah,
over there.
yeah.
You know, strangely enough, you know,
That is true.
everybody kind of ignores their own
No.
stuff that's right in their backyard.
Yeah.
And it takes somebody else to recognize the quality of it.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, we're
Yeah,
back
yeah.
again.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
were talking about that, watching that Keith Richards documentary where he's hanging out with Buddy Guy and Howlin' Wolf and all
Sure.
those guys and visiting Chess
Muddy-
Records, and Muddy Waters was painting the ceiling, and he was like, wow, this is unbelievable, these heroes to the English guys, and then
Yeah.
they kind of
They did. I
helped
mean,
them get their career back, and
yeah.
You know, it's funny because I had a band and we used to play in the 70s and we did a lot of blues and we backed up like Eddie Cleanhead Vincent, Roy Milton, Albert Collins, Big Joe Turner, you know, Big Mama Thornton. In all those acts, they were barely getting paid. I mean, you know, for a few $100s, you could have had them play in your venue. And I mean, it was really heartbreaking. I mean, we back
Is that still Chitlin?
You can have the
circuit
international
era,
swingers
or
for
is
a
that
few
kind of
$100
already
as
phased out by
I
then?
think the Chitlin circuit kind of was there, but these were acts that didn't necessarily have the money to put their own big band
Bands
together. And what ended up happening is they had to, you know, play with whoever was backing them up. You know, they liked our band because we played kind of simple, and I had a great harmonica player and Rick Vito on
Duke
guitar.
Logan on
Duke Logan,
harp.
who was great. Dan Duran on bass.
Yeah.
Joe Uwaley, who ended up with John Mayall for so many years.
I remember seeing you backing up Bo Diddley at the Coconut Teaser,
Sure,
and
yeah.
all those places down at Raji's, and there were a lot of guys you used to back up.
Right, but you know, it was funny because, you know, the audience, you know, they were rediscovered by the Brits. And that gave a lot of them their career back where they could actually make some money
Yeah.
again playing music. And when we played, you know, it was primarily a white audience. I mean, you know, there really wasn't a lot of people that were appreciating the blues that were, you know, the African Americans, you know, which is really strange because it's such an amazing thing that
Yeah.
they came up with that is so much of American culture.
Right.
And,
No, that's absolutely
and
right.
it was totally ignored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's almost like you have to have somebody else remind you how great it is, what's in front of you. Yeah, it's funny, right? Yeah.
And then later on with punk rock, I mean, the Clash took out, didn't they? They took out Muddy Waters on the road and
Oh,
stuff
that's
like
right.
that,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Sure.
Bo
Yeah.
Diddley as well. I think,
And Bo Diddley. Maybe,
Thank God.
maybe I meant Bo Diddley. I might have got that back
Yeah.
to front. But also very early on in like the late 50s and stuff, lots of the British bands used like Hofner guitars and like German-made stuff. And it's
Yeah.
in the early 60s that I think you can suddenly see, and especially, you know, with Cream and everything like that, suddenly everyone's using Gibsons.
Well,
and
when we
Fenders.
were kids, there was a lot of Hofners and stuff around, and stuff like the Beatles used to use, because all that stuff came from Germany into Liverpool, right?
Right.
And that was how, and it was, they must have been getting it for really cheap or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Because
Was it like Hank Marvin? That,
Yeah,
that
I was just
kind
going to
of
say
well,
that. I mean,
exploded
well, the
in
other
American-
this was like the Hofners and the Harmonies and the cheaper end guitars. There were an awful lot of those floating about. But
Yeah.
if you really started getting good, then you wanted either
Strat.
Pink
But it was-
Strat like Hank
yeah.
Marvin's, or anything with Gibson written on it. I had a
Yeah.
Melody Maker, and then I just, like you with your Junior. I remember my first Les Paul. It was just like, oh god.
But there were a lot of tariffs between, like trade tariffs between the US and the UK back then, which is why
That's
not that many
difficult,
Gibsons
right?
and Fenders
Yeah.
made their way
Yeah.
until
Sure.
really until the mid 60s. That's when you start seeing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And there were distributors, so a lot of the times the distributors chose what stores were going to
Yeah, yeah.
get
Yeah.
some of the American goods.
Yeah,
And
well,
you get
there
all
was-
the myths about, you know, the Selma cases, because apparently, you know, Fender shipped all their stuff in just in
Selma.
boxes, and then
Right.
Selma put them in their own cases, which now count as, you know, original.
as
to the
original
guitar.
Fender. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. And of course there was, back then, people wanted English amplifiers like Marshalls and High Watts, and you know the
That's
stuff
one
that
thing
Who was
that you
using,
guys really
and American
did
guitars.
great.
Well, Jim Marshall, I mean, his first JTM45 was a head version. He
Basement.
tried to copy a
Basement.
basement, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm a Marshall guy, and when you get a good one, there's lots of people making boutique amps out. I mean, there's, you know, Dave Friedman, guys like that are making amazing amps.
Yeah.
But I still use just regular unmodded Marshalls.
Can't beat
So,
the
I
original.
like them.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of cases and all that, there was, and I mentioned this in my book, there was a place called Bullwin Industries, and they were in Orange County. And I had a buddy of mine who was into vintage guitars and bought some guitars from me. However he found this place, he ended up going out there, and they made a lot of the original Fender cases
cases.
for the,
Oh, wow.
you know, so they had the tweed cases, the brown cases, the black cases, the white cases, the plastic cases that they
Imported, yeah.
did, you know, for, they did like some of these molded cases back in the day too, and they had a lot of these. And so my friend went there and he bought some stuff from them, and I contacted them, and one of the guys there said, yeah, we've got a bunch of cases there, and some are perfect, some are in a state of 90%
No.
Disrepair.
build.
Yeah.
Right.
And by the way, we have some instruments that they sent us
For fitting.
to fit the cases, to build the cases. So, you know, so that's pretty cool. And, you know, I said, well, I'm going to come up in a few days. I said, why don't you look around and see if you see any, you know, any of these instruments. So about 2 days later, I get like a call, and the guy says, yeah, you know, we've got like this old Stratocaster. It's got a little water damage because it's been sitting there for I don't know how many years. I asked the guy the serial number. It turned out to be a 54 Strat and a few things. I said, well, what do you want for the Strat? He said, I don't know, like $35 or something like that. But, you know, I almost had a heart attack getting down there, you know. And when I saw this place, it was amazing. I bought so many cases from them. I got like Fender keyboard bases, and I got, you know, some odd Fender acoustics like the Fender Kingman Kings,
Newports
and Newports, and you know, just some other odd stuff. I think there was a Jag or Jazzmaster that was included there, but they had them all like piled in a box, all scratched up, and it was
Wow.
like, you know, it was like it meant nothing.
How long
But-
ago was that?
Well, when I did that, that was probably, it was before the store, so I'm going to say maybe 72 or 73.
Wow.
So it was before I had a store. But, you know, and I had a little network of these guys that wanted to buy some of this old stuff, so I knew who to call. But, I mean, when the guy told me the serial number of the Strat, you know, I started shaking, and I was like, all right, let me get the address, I'll be right down there. And, you know, it was pretty amazing.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
'Cause I was looking for a Fender Electric 12 because I like those guitars, and The first one I bought was in a pawn shop on Santa Monica Boulevard, right here.
Uh-huh.
And I've been looking for one. This guy had it just like behind the counter in the case. And I said, "How much do you want for the 12 string?" And he said, $150. And I thought he was messing around at first.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, going, plus tax? He says, yes, of course, plus tax. He was a Russian dude, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I've still got the guitar.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Wow, if that was 72, so that was before you had premises. How were you?
Yeah.
How were you selling stuff out of the car?
It
or?
was, well, I had a place in Sherman Oaks. I had a 2-bedroom apartment, then a 3-bedroom apartment, and there were just guitars all over
Everywhere,
the place.
yeah.
And it was, I would run ads in the LA Times. I mean, so wanted to buy in, wanted to sell. And so I developed a network, and Robbie Robertson came to me and threw my ad in the LA Times, and that really helped out, as far as getting me introduced to a clientele out here.
Yeah.
It was all a lot more fun before eBay and the internet.
Oh,
really.
yeah. Well, it was
When
like
it was,
prospecting.
Yeah.
I mean, you
it was
just
like
never
hunting
knew.
in a way. You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, you never knew what you were in here.
Yeah.
You put your plate in the water and come up, and whatever happened to be there.
When you used to drive down to, was it Union Station to get the early copy of the paper?
Yeah.
So that whatever, you get it first and actually see it
Yeah.
first, and you could drive there and buy things.
Well, what
Instead of
what
the
I ended
internet.
up doing is I went down to the LA Times, and I just camped out there, and I wanted to see when the first papers
Trucks
were
would be-
coming out.
Yeah.
So I would follow the trucks. Then I realized that the Sunday Times was coming out on Saturday. Of course, it was Saturday's news, but it was Sunday's classified.
Yeah.
And so I would call people up at like 6 o'clock Saturday morning about their Sunday Times ads, and half the time people would hang up on me or be pissed.
Yeah.
But I was able to talk a lot of folks into letting me come down early and buy their stuff.
That's very cool.
Cool.
So anyway, James, we know you're a Les Paul guy through your many storied career,
Yeah,
especially the custom came into play a lot when you were with the Cult, and you seem to use a custom all the time now, don't you?
I've always used customs.
Stage.
Really, since I had a standard, and I had the junior when I was in Chelsea, but then when I joined Generation X in 1980, I had the white custom.
Yeah,
I've got
and
a
that's
few of those
become
now, and I've
sort
used
of
them.
your
Yeah, it's
signature.
the Steve Jones guitar, really, but I mean, I've always used them as
Steve
well.
Jones, James Stevenson.
Yeah, I mean, you were
The line's
early
getting
on,
blurred.
you know,
I was
so-
lucky enough as well about 5 years ago to get offered a real burst of 60. And I've got to say, I've played Les Pauls all my life, and I don't know what they did back then, but it blows
Everything
everything
else
out of the
away.
water. I mean, I wouldn't take it on the road, but I've used it in the studio, and it just
Yeah.
sounds incredible.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's the wood, the alloys and the pickups, the way
Yeah.
it was constructed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to put a finger on it, but,
Yeah.
and I've always said, I mean, they're building some very nice guitars, and they have reissues of Les Pauls, R8s, R9s, R0s,
Yeah, yeah.
They're very cool, but they can't even quite duplicate a case. They can't
No.
make a brown
The
case.
stitching right or the
The latches,
Tolex,
the
right,
stitching,
yeah.
all that stuff, so that you can't
Yeah.
even tell the difference between an old one and a new one. You should be able to duplicate a
You
case.
should.
Yeah.
It's true. I never
How
thought
are
of
you
it
going
like
to
that.
make a guitar?
Yeah.
and
They don't sound the
duplicate
same.
that
I
if
had
you-
people come round
Yeah.
to AB, my friend Emil, who you know as well,
Yeah.
he's got 2 made by a guy called Terry Morgan, who's a boutique. They makes great guitars,
Yeah.
they sound great. But when you AB it with a real one, it's just
Yeah.
not even
There's
It's
close.
not
nothing like-
necessarily just the volume, it's the
No,
tone.
it's not.
Yeah.
It is the tone.
It's not
because
the
some
volume at
R9s will put the more output with the pickups.
Yeah. It's a mixture of everything, though, isn't it? It's the tone, it's the way.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before, and then there must have been some magic.
It's alchemy.
Something.
Yeah, something.
Well,
happened.
you've played quite a few. Mark,
Yeah.
what do you think?
It's a
You're great
response
player.
thing. It's an
Yeah.
everything thing. I don't know if it's something in your brain because you're holding it that you want it to be better. It just is.
Yeah.
People say it's between the glue, the paint. Because some people say that the gold tops don't sound as good because they've got gold paint.
They
on.
feel good when you put them on. It's
Yeah,
the
I've played a lot
weight.
of gold tops that sound
It's
pretty
the
damn
weight
good.
and the way
yeah.
they hang and everything.
But then there are people that say that you can hear the difference between pinstripe and basket weave grill on a Marshall cab, which I think is slightly fanciful to say the least. you
Yeah,
know.
a little bit.
But the other thing that I've just got into, well, I've always been into them, but is that I've collected the 20th anniversary Les Paul Customs from '74.
Oh, really?
And I've just got the final one to complete the set. In the Grun book it says they did them in black and white, but I've got them in 8 different colours.
What have you got?
I've seen
Tell us what they are.
If I can remember. Okay, I've got black and ivory, tobacco burst, cherry sunburst, natural top, wine red, I've just bought a cherry one from
Oh,
a
that's
British
it,
dealer,
cherry, yeah.
and the rarest one of all is, have you ever seen the Brazilian cat?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
made
yeah.
52 of them in '74.
I
got a
saw it
20th
because you showed me the picture, but I've
Yeah,
never
but I've got a
seen one in
20th
real life.
anniversary version of that.
You know,
So-
I think I had a gold custom of the 20th anniversary at one time. This was
Oh, there goes all the
say
collection.
that.
There might be one
I
more
had them
that's
all.
missing.
Oh,
Sorry.
bummer.
The
well,
walnut and the gold top,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's yeah.
Do you have any other
If
questions,
it's out there,
questions
get in touch
from-
with James.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. As vintage guitars become rarer and rarer, do you see a time when reissues become collectible? Perhaps a new wave of vintage guitars.
You know, I absolutely do, and we're already seeing that because there's been, you know, a number of things that are really cool that are reissued. Unfortunately, a lot of these companies now, everything becomes
It's
a
a limited
reissue.
edition.
Everything's a limited edition.
And they're making a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they're making too. I think Gibson and Fender probably are making too many guitars.
If it was up to
Yeah.
me, I would thin it down to
Yeah.
the right ones and all that, you know, but, you know, it's a matter of sifting through some of the things and finding the ones that are gonna last over time and be desirable.
Right.
Because
we've
artist,
seen-
sorry, but you know the artist-related burst reissues.
Those
that
tend
they
to be
did,
the ones.
those things are really
Those
All the
collectible
collector's
collector's
already.
choice
Collector's
things,
choice
the
ones.
Jimmy
Collector's
Pages,
choice, that's
the
what I mean.
Bloomfields,
Yeah.
all those, the Billy Gibbons,
Exactly.
but there's some that are
Series.
better than others.
Oh, I'm sure.
And the ones that are better, you know, time will sift that out
Yeah.
and determine which are the ones that are the most desirable.
Yeah.
But, you know, unfortunately, all the companies, everything's a limited edition this and a limited edition of that. And you got to be able to kind of look through that and see, you know, what are the good limited editions.
What was that? Was it Mike Bloomfield? That one? It
Yeah,
just
all
sounded
those,
amazing.
all the Jimmy Page ones always seem to sound really
Yeah.
great, and people are asking. I don't know what people ask over there. I've been seeing them
Yeah, they're-
But some of that-
mid-teens to 20s to 40
Wow.
for this. It's like that's a lot
Some
of
of
money
the
for
other
a new
signature
guitar.
series,
But you
know.
can ask anything you want. That
Which
doesn't mean
ones,
you're
yeah,
going to
you're
get
gonna
it.
get it.
Yeah.
But,
So-
But
I
some
mean,
of the other signature series ones we've seen, like that Warren Haynes 335s, been
Those are
really
a lot
of
good.
the,
and
some of the
the
bottom
Rusty
stuff.
Anderson 335s,
Yeah, the
they
Rustys
sound
are good.
fantastic.
Some of the Bonamassa stuff is really cool.
Bonamassa
Joe has
stuff's
really got a
amazing.
great handle on what makes a good Gibson guitar, and he's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
kind of, you know, having guys like that who really know.
direct.
And
yeah.
even those ES 330 reissues that we saw that came
Some of
out
those
this
were-
way.
Or
Oh, they look really
with
good
the
as
rubber
well.
stamp serial numbers,
Yeah.
if you didn't
Yeah.
know what you were looking for,
Yeah. They were-
you
they
could
were
get
great,
hold of one of
yeah.
those.
So there's definitely progress in that area.
But give me the old stuff any day.
Give me old stuff anytime, yeah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. That's what I say. That's why I'm here. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's the whole premise of this business, really.
And the store looks great, by the way.
Thank you
Fantastic.
very much. Well, I have to bow to Mark on that because I let him kind of.
Interior decorating is only a side hobby.
Yeah. Hey, I got a nice one here from Sammy Tuthill, which I'm going to ask James as well. It says, can Norm, but Norm and James and Mark, can you give your opinion on the magical tone of pre-CBS Strat pickups? What in your ears makes them sound better? Whoever wants to.
I'm a humbucker guy, so it's probably better to pass that question over to Norm. You know?
Well, I'll tell you what I think, and I think it's alloys that were used in the wind of the pickups that definitely have. They're not available anymore. Some of the metals that were used. I mean, they all say that, oh yeah, we can do the same thing, but it doesn't quite have the magic. And the wood of the guitar, you know, has a lot to do with it too. There's a chemistry between the pickups, the wood, the build, everything.
I think
Let me
it's
ask-
a lot of
let me ask
output. I
Mark.
think it's a lot of output. What is around 65 that they really started wiring the pickups a lot hotter. That's when you really start getting the
The hot
Strat-itis
ones.
on stuff
Yeah.
in 65, 66. It's
Yeah.
like something
When you
about
get
the late 50s, the slab board era stuff. They're in the fives. They're not these high six
I was in-
output pickups
I was
like
in
they are
Italy
in
about
65.
10 years ago, and the guy knew I was into guitars, and he took me to a friend of his house, just like an ordinary, regular, sort of modest house, but he had a Strat from every year, from like 54
Wow.
until like the late 70s. And he made me play every single
single
one. And the best sounding one, in my opinion, was a 61 slab board.
Really?
You get
Yeah.
into that, yeah.
Wow.
It just sounded just like heaven, you know, it was amazing.
Wow.
I mean, all the 50s ones were great as well, but, you know, every not all guitars made in any particular year. I mean, bursts vary a lot. They're not always
Bursts vary,
amazing. you
yeah,
know.
I have
Yeah,
that for a
very
It
while.
might just be that he had a
Yeah.
great slab board, but it definitely really stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and also depending on what type of music that you're playing, I mean, even for certain things, I'm not a huge fan of the late 70s Strats, but they can work for
Yeah,
certain
They
that
work
things.
sounds-
great for
yeah,
some things,
the
yeah.
funky-
But Mark
yeah.
probably, I mean, you sold more early 60s Strats in this last 12-month
Yeah.
period than I've seen, you know.
It's just, I don't know, it's something about the lack of output, I think, that makes you turn the amp up a little more, that makes the amp
Almost
work a little
negative,
harder.
yeah.
As opposed to the really
Yeah.
loud. Everything now is so loud.
Yeah.
And, you know, people like loud, but I think they get loud. We were just talking about it. Loud is not tone.
And all the
Loud
variants on the
yeah.
Strat pickups, like the noiseless ones and the T3 and the
A
active
noiseless
pickups
Strat
and
pickup is great if you're dealing in the digital realm and you're
Yeah.
playing with it. But noise is part of the charm.
Doesn't sound like
Doesn't
a
sound
Strat.
like a Strat without the noise. It's a pain in the ass. You got to do a
Yeah,
60
it's true.
cycle hum.
Well, it's like
But
the
that
peanut.
hum is part of the charm
Yeah,
of the
that's
whole
what gives
guitar.
you your
lose
Stevie
that.
Ray, your Rory
Yeah,
Gallagher,
you
your
lose that charm.
your
it's
Chris
not a
Rea,
Strat.
who has a
Yeah.
great sounding Strat.
It's the
yeah.
P90 thing is the same deal as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? You know, but I've actually got like a 74. I've had it for a long, long time, over 30 years. A 74 bullet headstock Strat, just a sunburst one that
Yeah.
I think sounds really, really great.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a 62 refin. That's the one I use if ever I need like a clean tone in the studio. I'll use a 62 refin and a blackface super reverb, which I think sounds. They call it the king of clean, don't they?
The king of clean, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, don't underestimate early 70s. Into the late 70s, it gets a bit different.
Right,
but
but
the
it's
early
all your
70s guitars would
application,
be good.
because I mean, a lot of that funk stuff that you hear,
Yeah.
those 70s Strats work because they feel.
Nile Rodgers.
Yeah, that's the
you know,
sound of those
right
records.
there. That's
yeah.
the
Yeah.
perfect example.
Yeah.
So anyhow, listen, I want to thank you all for watching this segment of Ask Norm. And I'm sorry it's been a little while since our last segment, but we were doing a remodel in here. And since I had James in here and we were able to trap him, we like to do that with our friends.
It's a pleasure, Norm. Love it.
Thank you, buddy. I always appreciate it. We're old friends. We've done a lot of business over the years. And, and James has played with a lot of important groups. And
And
still
go
does.
see the Swingers if you're in LA.
Yeah.
Mark, James,
Thanks a lot.
Nick.
Norm.
No.
Yeah, all right. I forgot at my age. Anyhow, Ask Norm segments. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.